Very few people outside China understand China quite the way that Ambassador Mahbubani does. Looked at from your perspective, where do you see this crisis head next? Also possibly from a Chinese point of view?
Well, there's no doubt that the Ukraine war has hit China very badly. And it's been negative for China on at least 4 counts. Number one, President Xi Jinping wanted in the year 2022 calm and stability because it's an important political transition coming up. Instead, he's got to deal with the domestic challenge of ending COVID-19, zero policy, and also dealing with Ukraine. Number two, his number one strategic partner, Russia, has been seriously weakened. That's a loss for China. And number three, President Xi wanted to deal with a separate United States and a separate Europe, but Ukraine has completely consolidated Western solidarity, and so that's a setback geopolitically also for Xi Jinping. And fourthly, of course, I think probably the biggest shock for China was the fact that they thought they had $3.2 trillion of assets in their foreign reserves. Now they realize they can be seized overnight, just like half the central bank reserves of Russia were seized. So you can see how it's been negative for China on several counts. But having said that, I think it's very important to counterbalance the short-term shocks that we are facing with the long-term trends that are happening. And if you do a kind of a long-term trend, for let's say take this decade of 2020s, I can confidently predict that, and I'm going to say this even though I'm not the expert, for the 1.3 billion people in India, for the 1.4 billion people in China, and for the 700 million people in Southeast Asia and ASEAN, this makes it 3.4 billion people, at the end of this decade, they'll be much better off. Because there are profound, deeply instituted policy changes have been put in place to ensure that growth will happen in this region. So let me just conclude with one statistic so you understand what I'm talking about. In the year 2000, the combined economy of ASEAN was 1/8 the size of Japan. Japan's economy was 8 times bigger. Now Japan's economy is only 1.5 times bigger. By 2030, ASEAN's economy will be bigger than Japan's.